Hello and welcome once again. We are hoping to take you to the Ghana CEO Summit, which has opened today at the Kempinski Hotel in Accra. We'll bring you that once we have the next session starting, where we expect a presidential address. But three things for you this afternoon we are pursuing. We are pursuing the city's performance, as well as the Treasury bill sale, as well as news about Ghana's debt crisis. But we want to begin with the city because the local currency over the past weeks has witnessed some sustained depreciation against the US dollar. This is being linked to a sudden surge in demand of dollars by businesses. Here to make us understand what is happening is Courage Mate, senior economist with Data Bank Research. Good to have you this afternoon, Courage. What's triggering this sudden demand by the business community for dollars?
Thanks for having me, Daryl. There are a number of issues, but we can pick four of the highlights as the reasons why the city is behaving the way it is so far in May. And two of them are on the demand side issues and two on the supply side issues. On the demand side, the first among them is the fact that we are in the dividend seasons. Companies are declaring and paying dividend, both listed and non-listed companies. And those companies with non-resident investors as shareholders will have to repatriate their dividend. And so that's exerting demand pressure on the market. The second side is bond selling by non-resident investors. That's also exerting demand side pressures because they have to exchange into foreign currency to exit. On the supply side, you recall that somewhere in March, the government announced that it was going to arrange some up to $2 billion dollars in syndicated loans. Now, the markets keep asking when and where is that money coming from, because we don't heard some concrete progress on that. So there's also some uncertainty around the supply side. Now, the last point I want to make on the supply side is the fact that just the recent MPC update indicated that gross forex reserves has declined in terms of the cover and in terms of the monetary value from about $11 billion a year ago to $8.3 billion as of April. And that's a decline from 5.0 months of import cover to 3.7 months of import cover. And that also elevates the uncertainty around the supply side of forex on the market. And all these are weighing down on the local currency.
Okay, at our last check this morning, I hope we have that to show, the cedi was going for 7 cedis, 88 pesos to the dollar. I'm just wondering, for how long do we expect this to continue?
Well, I think we would experience this a few weeks down the line. I mean, because first of all, dividend payments are things that would necessarily exert demand pressures. As long as they continue to shock the supply side, which is very limited at the moment. So the dividend side, payment side of the equation is one that would expect will linger for a couple of weeks more. And that would also pull down some pressure, exert some pressure on the local currency. But we think that generally we expect some positive news from the government in terms of the syndicated loans they announced some time ago, and also expect the central bank to keep a firm grip on the supply of local currency so that it can also cap the demand side pressures.
All right, and our debt crisis also in the news this afternoon. According to the latest ranking by CFR, we are amongst 10 countries at risk of distress. This is no news because we understand our debt crisis, the situation that we are in. But what does this sort of classification do to our economy? The optics matter, don't they?
The optics matter a lot. And when you see your Eurobond curve, which is inverted currently, and it tells you that the market is really not sure of your debt service capacity. And of course, this issue became very significant when Sri Lanka defaulted about a couple of weeks ago. And countries like Ghana, Tunisia, Pakistan have been bucketed into the same category. And that's not good for us because we need access to the international market to be able to service our debt. And if you look at our curve, around the 2025 to 2032 tenors is where the concerns are. So the optics are not good, and it's ultimately not good for government. Deficit financing is not good for government liability management as well. So definitely optics not the best.
All right, my last question to you has to do with Treasury bill sale. We missed our target once again. This is despite the increase in interest rates following the policy rate hike. What's going on there too?
Well, it's a complex policy landscape we have, Daryl, because on the one hand, our central bank has a mandate to ensure price stability, and we are all witnesses to what's happening to inflation. And central bank is taking no prisoners in quelling the inflationary pressures by reducing the supply of money, the supply of local currency on the market in order to bring down inflation. Now, that is exerting unintended consequences because the government would have to borrow also to finance the budget deficit as well as roll over maturing debt. Now, if supply of money is limited, partly because of the control of inflation, then certainly the Treasury is exposed to high borrowing costs. And overall, it's a complex situation because the central bank will also have to keep to its core mandate of price stability. So what we are facing currently is a double whammy of high inflation, which investors are demanding compensation for, as well as scarce funds to support the Treasury's demand for funds. And that's all being priced into interest rates on the markets.
Well, we'll speak about inflation. The central bank governor today at the Ghana CEO summit saying that the central bank is committed to ensuring stability when it comes to inflation. Just wondering, what else can the central bank do this time around?
Well, the central bank is a demand management entity or institution, and the best they can do is continue to work with their interest rate channel, improve the transmission mechanism of monetary policy to ensure that the lag, if any, are reduced as much as possible. But beyond that, there's very little the central bank can do, and a lot of responsibility will also fall on the Treasury. We should not always be hitting hard on the central bank. The Treasury also needs to do a lot more to see how we can reduce the supply shocks, reduce the cost pressures in the system. Sometimes it could include some calibration in the tax system to ensure that we ease the cost side pressures and also ensure government spends on critical sectors like agriculture, which will not only support growth, but also slow down the rate of food price inflation. Overall, once this combines nicely, we should start to see a slowdown in the rate of inflation.
Courage Marty, always a pleasure to speak with you as senior economist with Data Bank Research. I appreciate your time this afternoon. Let's move on now. Access Bank Ghana PLC has promised to reduce its non-performing loans drastically as it recorded strong performance across key indicators of the bank's operations last year. At the bank's 14th annual general meeting, it also announced a dividend of 79 pesos a share for the financial year 2021. Managing Director Olumide Olatunji explained that one of the main priorities of the bank this year is to improve its key financial indicators.
If you look at the trend of performance of the bank, you will see that last year was a significant increase as far as the payment is concerned. But that was taken because we are a moderate risk bank, and where we see that accounts have been classified as non-performing loans for over 2 years. We have to ensure that those accounts are written off based on approvals from the central bank. But I must assure you that we have taken adequate steps to ensure that we are in a position to recover those losses, working through the courts and through the recovery team and agents that we have employed as a bank to help us collect our monies back. So even though these amounts have been written off, we are taking active steps to pursue them, and hopefully would have cause to recover a substantial part of it, which would reflect in our performance this year and other years as we continue our operations. So rest assured, we are mindful of it, and we don't think it will reoccur going into the future. Secondly, you spoke about our expenses and how we need to ensure that we continue to pay attention to it. Very, very carefully, we are mindful of that. In fact, from an efficiency ratio standpoint, cost-to-income ratio, if you do the common sizing of our performance, you will see that we are top 2, top 3 in the industry from a cost-to-income perspective. So we're very mindful of that. We'll continue to take necessary measures to ensure that we are very prudent in how we spend our resources. You also alluded to the fact that we need to do more on the recovery team. I think the board and management have put ourselves to task to ensure that we optimize as to how we go about our recovery. You linked your point to other means of claims and litigation. And the recoveries you see that happened even in the course of the year were also some form of agreements that we reach with our customers, not necessarily having to go through the courts. Because like you rightly said, it's quite expensive and it takes time. So where we see the customers are willing and have the capacity, we come into arrangements with them. So we are mindful of that opportunity, and we're taking full advantage of it on the cases that we think we can optimize using that approach.
Okay, so that was the MD of Access Bank Ghana PLC at their annual general meeting. We have our eyes on another AGM for you, this time MTN. Shareholders of the telecoms giant are to get 85 pesos a share as final dividend payment. This is a proposal coming at the annual general meeting. This is in addition to the interim 3 pesos dividend last year, bringing the total dividend that will be paid to 11.5 pesos a share for last year. Now, MTN recorded 2 billion cedis in profit after tax for 2021. The dividend payment represents more than 40% increase over 2020. Now, meanwhile, MTN has secured shareholders' approval to increase the number of shares allocated to staff of the company. This was is supposed to be one of the resolutions that was tabled at the telecoms giants annual general meeting in Accra today. The approval will increase MTN's employee share scheme from 4.4% to 5% of the company's issued shares. Joining me via Zoom is Patrick Edem Agama, who is the head of trading at Republic Securities. Thankfully, he sat through the MTN annual general meeting, and so you can bring us up to date, Patrick, as to whether those recommendations for the 85 peso dividend payment have been finalized.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. So, yes, I was at the meeting, and yes, shareholders have voted in favor. What we now expect is for the decisions to reflect in the price of MTN. For now, we are seeing MTN trade some shares on the market, but still at 90 pesos. We've seen about 1 million shares trading, but we are expecting the price to fall because bids are around 89 pesos on the market against the offers we see on the market.
And interestingly, a couple of weeks ago, we reported MTN shares had fallen by 18.9% off this year. And so looking at this indication that there's going to be an increase in the dividend payment, it sure is a boost for the company on the stocks.
Yes, it's a boost, but knowing that the qualifying date for this particular dividend has passed, investors are aware of that information. So by now, as of today, does not qualify you for this final dividend payment. Maybe you'll be qualified for future dividend payments, but it has passed. So that is what is giving the selling pressures on the market for MTN.
Any other takeaways from that annual general meeting?
Well, we've seen that there are some new faces coming up on the team of MTN, so we expect that to affect the corporate governance of MTN, and also we expect the investor relations of MTN to be improved in the coming year.
Let's talk about Access Bank because we just reported about their annual general meeting as well, and we're expecting from indications from the stock market that shares are to increase this week. Tell us what you're observing and what we are to expect generally on the market this week.
Well, for Access Bank, we've seen the stock being on the buy side for some time now. So we expect the price of Access Bank to increase as soon as there is a supply for that stock. And though I can say that the share is not trading actively for some time now, and we are waiting for the information to reflect on the market. It will take some time for this information to reflect, but eventually we expect it to reflect in the trading activities on the market.
And I was discussing with Courage Mate earlier on of DataBank of the Treasury bill sale target and the fact that, again, government has missed out on it despite the interest rates hike. Tell us what you're observing as well on the Treasury markets and what that means going forward.
Okay, so in the recent auction, we noticed that all the 91-day Treasury bill bids were accepted. But if you can see, we noticed that the 182-day bill, about 150 million were tendered, but only 145 million were accepted. It's an indication that there is some control coming into the market. For the 364-day bill as well, about 129 million were tendered, but only 101 million were accepted. That's also an indication that there's some control, but as high as 22.49% were accepted for the 91-day, which closed eventually at 19.93, and then as high as 24.5% were accepted for the 182-day, which closed at 22.94. And then for the 364-day bill, as high as 25% were accepted. It eventually closed at 24.46% for this. And then we expect for next week, the target is to raise 1.228 billion, and this will be through the 91-day and the 182-day bills. And then we expect the levels to rise slightly in the subscription rate for this.
And this was a narrow miss. So hopefully, in the course of time, investors are going to be putting their monies there, right?
Yes, it's a narrow miss, but because it's a control measure not to get the rates too high. If investors bid too high, their bids get rejected. So the investors are beginning to understand that, and that is a very good control measure for now. Until,
yeah. Patrick Edemagama, Head of Trading at Republic Securities, with an update on the money markets. Let's turn to UNILEVER Ghana PLC, which says that high and rapidly increasing costs of raw materials and sea freight affected operations last year, but remains optimistic about 2022. Notwithstanding the challenges, Managing Director of UNILEVER, George Osuansa, says the company grew top line by 23% and profitability by 100% in 2021. It disclosed this at the virtual annual general meeting for 2021 in Tema. Correspondent Kwame Yanka has more.
Global material inflation has been the biggest difficulty militating against UNILEVER Ghana PLC on the business and economic side. This is said to have affected the margins and pricing of the company's product aside dealing with COVID-19. UNILEVER took drastic measures to address costs, reducing waste and improving efficiency. For 2021 operational year, the company saw a 23% increase in revenue from 456 million Ghana cedis in 2020 to 559 million Ghana cedis in 2021. Its profit stood at 2.8 million Ghana cedis as against 22 million Ghana cedis loss the previous year. Profit after tax for 2021 was 0.4 million Ghana cedis compared to 50 million Ghana cedis loss recorded in 2020. Managing Director of UNILEVER Ghana PLC, George Osuansa, was speaking at the annual general meeting.
In spite of these global and health challenges, your company achieved the following against our 4 growth pillars. First, a top-line growth of 23% versus prior year. We improved our profitability by 100% versus prior year. 38% of our portfolio gained shares, and we continued our work to make Ghana and the world healthier through our sustainability programs.
According to George Osuansa, the company will continue to invest for the future.
We invested to build the equity of our brands. We continued our focus to serve the mainstream consumer through innovation and strengthening our route to market. We continued our work to ensure that we ran the company well. We were operationally disciplined, continuing to enforce the programs that would make sure that going forward, our delivery will be sustainable. And as mentioned earlier, we continued our sustainability program. More importantly for us was also making sure that the team that ran your company, the processes and the systems that run your company are fit for the future.
Meanwhile, Board Chair for UNILEVER Ghana, Edward Efa, touches on how the pandemic is affecting developing economies and the impact of inflation.
In Ghana, the annual inflation rate accelerated from 7.5% in May 2021 to 15.7% in February 2022, and is now estimated at 24%. The surge in inflation is largely attributable to the upward adjustments in fuel prices and exchange rate pressures in the last quarter of 2021. The economic outlook for 2022 is challenging due to inflationary pressures from petroleum prices, pressure on the Ghana cedi exchange rate, and fiscal consolidation challenges.
Currently, UNILEVER Ghana sources 75% of its raw materials locally, but this is expected to increase as the company introduces new products.
You're watching The Marketplace. Now, the Bank of Ghana has emphasized its commitment to bringing inflation under control to reduce interest rates. Now, speaking at the ongoing Ghana CEO Summit, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, said his outfit is also committed to digitizing the economy. James Ishen joins us live from the Kempinski Hotel, where the event is taking place. What else has been happening there, James? James, if you can hear me, what else has been happening at Kempinski, where the Ghana CEO Summit is taking place? All right, we can see James there, but we are not too sure if you can hear us. So I'm going to try one more time.
CEO Summit, and this is the 6th edition. And this year's event is actually looking at digital leadership for digital economy. Well, so earlier we had a governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, who made mention of the fact that the central bank is actually working assiduously to ensure that they control inflation, and that would lead to a reduction in interest rate. He also made mention of the fact that they're partnering with other private institutions to ensure that there is some sort of, to consolidate their payment ecosystem, as well as also ensure that things are in order. Well, the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison also finally said, with respect to the ECD, the piloting is currently ongoing at the in a town called Seshi Asafo in the western north region of Ghana. We have some of the CEOs who have also been saying the CEO Summit is indeed came in at its right time. The Minister for Public Enterprises, Honorable Joseph Kujo, also made mention of the fact that the ministry or his outfit is also partnering with other private institutions to ensure that they get more of such businesses being digitized to also support the economy. So basically, this is what we have here at the Ghana CEO Summit here at the Kempinski Hotel. They're basically looking at how some businesses in the country, or basically in the economy, can take advantage of the digitization policy we have in the country. So these are some of the happenings here at the Ghana CEO Summit, which is the 6th edition of the CEO Summit here at the Kempinski Hotel.
Very well. Thanks very much indeed, James Ishen. We want to take you there now to listen in on a panel discussion, I believe, that is underway at the Ghana CEO Summit.
We are including local content, and we are also looking to support local manufacturers to be able to produce, because today the main challenge when including local content and local products is the production. I mean, being able to produce enough in a short period of time. And we're willing to do this. And then, you know, when you talk about local content in terms of culture, it's a lot of trial and error, really. You know, you come to a country like Ghana, Senegal were very, very heavy coffee drinkers. I mean, you come to Ghana, Zambia, these types of countries where people were only drinking tea, so you have to change your your type of products you're bringing in. Also in Ghana, you know, English-speaking countries, you have to change completely your communication. You also have to, I remember when we first came to Ghana, people were buying these big Baroque, antique furniture. I think you still see some of them up in the north. And we came in with modern, you know, functional furniture. And when we first came, it was tough to get people to see this, but more and more do you bring this, and today our youth and many people are traveling, seeing these types of products elsewhere and want them locally. And we're able to do this by just a lot of trial and error and listening to your market and your customers.
Thank you very much. Dr. Macaulay, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you because on the back of what he talked about, the difficulties he has in moving his goods across, and Mukesh also made that point. You are a giant in the shipping industry. This is McDan shipping we're talking about. What have your learnings been? Obviously, it hasn't been an easy road. You're here in Ghana, so we're able to listen to you more and connect with you a bit more. What has your specific experience been? Maybe dwell a bit more on one of the successes and one of the challenges for us so that we can sort of have them in perspective, if you will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The Magdan story had been a unique and a wonderful story. I mean, we start from a single office and now we grow to almost $100 million company in a year, annual returns. And they all need Magdan. They all need Magdan. I mean, ours is to find solutions. And logistics have not been respected in this country very well. The whole West Africa sub-region, it's been very tough when you want to talk about logistics. Logistics is also very expensive. So I welcome after coming in with the movement, doing business among ourselves. But one thing I noticed also with AFTA, which is a challenge, nobody is talking about the logistic part of AFTA. From the time we start talking about AFTA, we have never moved a box under the AFTA umbrella. And it's a great challenge. Moving from Ghana to Nigeria, you meet 49 border checkpoints. And it's a challenge, it's a big challenge. And with Magdan, we find solutions. And we're trying to bring our services to the doorstep of customers and try to help them relax. But at the same time, looking at the cost. Currently, we've been able to bring a private jet operation to the middle class. You can just walk in and fly anywhere you want to fly. All of them, you want to do your
I see you looking at me when you said that. You should be looking this way.
Maybe I want you to fly.
They are the ones who can afford it, not me.
You know, right now you can walk in. Flying in even Africa is so difficult. If you want to go to Senegal, you have to go all the way to Europe before you come to Senegal. He's doing business in Senegal, he can tell you. You cannot go to Equatorial Guinea and return the same day. It takes you 4 days to come back from Equatorial Guinea. This is the solution Magdan Aviation had brought. When it comes to movement of cargo, I had discussion with B5 Plus. We're trying to get his steel closer to the water. Without water, he can't do any business in West Africa. So Magdan is building a jetty so that most of the goods within West Africa can move to the jetty. We are into salt production, and to tell you, the first time we try moving our salt from here to Cameroon, we have to use 800 tippers to move the salt to the port. I'm doing logistics, but it's difficult for me. So it's within my mandate to find a solution, or for Magdan to find a solution. I mean, nothing can move in West Africa. We can't do business, we can't do any trade in West Africa without trying to get the logistic man within. And it is very, very important. That is taking almost, as some companies, taking 48% of their revenue. And it is very expensive. And that is the difficulty aspect. The beauty part of it is doable. We have to dare to look at some of these things. You can build a beautiful factory. By the end of the day, you realize that you are spending half of your revenue in moving logistics around. But Magdan, we are daring to get into certain spaces that we cannot live hanging. Africa is green.
Right. Dr. Macaulay, just a quick one. For someone who's listening to us who's a logistics company, who's about 2-3 years old, what should they be looking at in terms of investment, heavy investment? You know, sometimes people make the wrong decisions and they try to do everything at once. You have gone ahead of us. For that little setup, 3 years, 5 years, logistics company, who are looking to become a Magdan in the future, what is the one strategic decision they should make between a 3 and 5 year old logistics company? Very, very briefly, if you will.
Just take your customers very serious. Service is everything. Respect your client, and you have to be consistent. Serve them in a very honest way, and let them believe in you. Let your customers know that when they pick the phone and call Mr. Banafo will be there for me. So it's discipline, honesty, integrity. In the logistic industry, integrity is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Thank you so much. Let's put us together for Mr. Macaulay. We hear it running through all of the submissions, people integrity, people integrity. It's about people. That's where we are now. Mr. Fosido, you set up in Ghana and you've expanded into 5 other countries, including Zambia and Zimbabwe. Before you tell us your story, just touch briefly on the power of collaboration in business for us, just very briefly. Because you have experienced it. Obviously, you didn't go into Zimbabwe, you didn't pick up your bag and walk into Zimbabwe and start on your own. You collaborated with some people there. Tell us about collaboration and then dovetail into your own personal African multinational story, if you will.
Okay, when it comes to expanding across the continent in law practice, it's perhaps the most difficult. And I say so, not lightly.
On authority.
Because I advise businesses and I know what it takes for a business to expand across the continent. When it comes to law, you are talking about every country has what type of practice you can set up and what you cannot. There is a very big African country, for example, where law practice is required to be individual. You cannot even set up a partnership. They are changing. Then there are countries where you can set up a company, countries where you cannot set up a company, countries where your liability can be limited, others where you cannot be limited. So those are statutory challenges that you have. Aside the traditional challenges of going across the continent where there is currency issues, different currencies, distances, Baghdad was just talking about the challenge of traveling across the continent. I had to go to Niger, for example. I went to Cote d'Ivoire, spent 4 hours there. It was only when we were airborne that I realized we had come back to Ghana and we were actually crossing the territory. So what was a 45-minute trip to Niamey takes you about 6 hours to do. Yeah. So those are distances you need to cover. Then there is the language problem. Then there is the lack of trust. So all these are challenges you need to deal with if you want to, go across the continent. But how did we do it? As a firm. Our story, I've told you several times, the practice was started with a borrowed table. And I mean every word of that. I couldn't afford the table at that time. So with one colleague, another colleague joined us. They both left for politics. I don't like politics. I stayed where I am and decided to build a business. But we've grown from a 2-man practice to 120 lawyers, 160 staff across the continent, and we rank among the top, the largest 10 law firms in Africa. This year, we won Africa Law Firm of the Year, large practice, the most prestigious award.
I think we can appreciate him for that.
But to do it, you have to have a business case. And business case comes from several angles. It could be one when you feel threatened. So, for example, when you have big international law firms coming to the jurisdictions, it may threaten your practice. That could be a business case for you. The fear could be a business case for you. A business case may be also when your clients are asking you, do you know another lawyer in another country? Because it means they are going there.
Yeah.
And we represent clients. So if my clients are consistently asking me what is happening in another country, do I know another lawyer there? It means the service is needed.
Yes.
Or you have a situation where your client tells you, I use another law firm in another country, but the service standard was not like yours. I wish you were there. So if all these number of things are happening at the same time, it makes a business case for you to expand. The question then is, how do you overcome the challenges? And for me, you have to have a multinational mindset. And a multinational mindset means that you don't see the problems, not because you overlook them, like an ostrich, but you see them as opportunities for you to overcome them and make them move. That is what we did. And for us, the first thing is collaboration, which is what we were talking about. You need to partner with people on the ground, because with law, you must be qualified within the jurisdiction to practice. So we partnered with people on the ground, and then we decided what type of practice do we set up in each country, and that's how we manage to grow. And I tell people, if you can do it in law practice, you can do it in anything. So our expansion predates the after. The after coming just coincides with what we're already doing, and for us, we will leverage it and move on from there.
Let me ask you this very quickly as a follow-up. Which of these would you recommend for business owners? If you fly out of Ghana into any country and you turn on your cell phone after you've landed, it switches to whichever, I'm not going to mention names because of brands, but it speaks to collaboration. So the companies here in Ghana who are collaborating with companies, let's even talk about the telcos, collaborating with companies in other parts of the world. Which is a better approach? And I know it's on a case-by-case basis. It depends on what you're doing, but just speak to us generally. Is it better to go and do it yourself? or to do the collaborations? Because in your case, you went there and you did it yourself.
No, there are several things you can do. You can do franchise, which means your product is needed somewhere and you cannot establish there. So you franchising and getting the product sold to the people there. You can set up there if you think the type of product requires you to be there. If the service industry is more difficult to do. You can do what is called a Swiss variant. A Swiss variant is where the entities, they have their own brand, but they adopt your name. And those are the type that you have the likes of Pricewaterhouse and the like of Deloitte and the rest use that type of where you have one brand, but it's all over. There is also one route that many SMEs forget, and they feel that the AFTA or the integrating Africa is not for them. And I tell people that the ecosystem is changing. There is very little you can do about it. And you will either have to remain relevant or you will die. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
And therefore, we need to think, and I'm going to say something which many people will find surprising, but give me a minute, I will explain that. I don't think outside the box. I stopped thinking outside the box long ago because it's a cliche. There are 4 ways I think. I'll talk about just one of them. I think very far away from the box. So I look at the box, if it's become a cliche, and I decide to dismantle the box and do it something different. So because it's outside the box and it's just a cliche.
You think like there is no box?
Yeah. Well, there is a box, but some people think within it. Some people think just within the precincts. Some people think away from it. And at times you must think within the box. It's not always you must think outside the box. I have a blog coming up, I will explain that later. But I think very far away from the box in such instances. And one of the far away from the box things we are not doing is aggregation and consolidation. We can have a situation where SMEs can actually agree to produce at the same standards, aggregate, and still reach other markets. You don't have to be large to take advantage of an expanding continent. You can be small and can still take advantage of it. And that's, if there's one lesson I should leave for SMEs, that's what I would do. So everything depends on your context, your business case, your strategy, and your culture. Without culture, forget it.
Strong points there. Let's appreciate Mr. Fosudote. Tavoni Biza, I'm coming to you, Old Mutual. You've been set up in Ghana since 2013. You acquired a major stake in Provident Life Assurance in 2014, and you rebranded to Old Mutual Life Assurance Company, Ghana Limited. Share your story with us, juxtaposing all of your experiences with the local content issues, the labor laws, and the collaborations that your peers have shared earlier, if you will.
Thank you. I think I'll pick up from where David just left.
That strong personalities don't build business. It's systems and structures. As we forge towards the digital age, we have to set up our corporate governance and make sure systems and structures work well for us.
Systems and structures, Dr. Macaulay. Jainath, your final comments?
Well, I'll draw from my chairman, my teacher, Masaki Mai, Japanese teacher. It's a message to CEOs that if you want to change, transform your organization, he talks about 3 ingredients. The first ingredient, which is very important, is called top management commitment. Without top management commitment, you can't transform change. The second ingredient that he talks about, and I want my CEOs to take note, is called top management commitment. And the third, which is very important, is called top management commitment.
Top management commitment. Thank you so much, Jainath. Mr. Fosudote, your final comments, sir.
I think in an integrated continent, collaboration is very key. Without collaborating, many businesses are not going to survive on this, fast-changing African continent. Yeah.
Right. Collaboration is the key. Thank you so much, Mr. Fosudote. Tavoni, your final comments?
The most important thing also, apart from collaboration, is we need to believe in ourselves and to believe in each other. I think there's lots that we can do once we actually believe that we can do it. And once we actually believe that our brothers and sisters can do it, then we'll start to see a big change in the country and in the industry. Thank you.
Let's believe in ourselves. Just remind us also that we're live on JoyNews and on Joy FM. Amit, your final comments.
I think what I've learned from the way we work in OLAM is what drives us is ambition. And we do not let a difficult year or a difficult circumstance allow us to falter. We carry on with a very huge driving ambition, And that allows us to do things very differently with a medium term rather than a short term perspective all the time. So that is what I would say, that keep ambition high and allow ambition to keep driving you at every stage.
Allow the vision to keep driving you. Thank you so much, Amit, for those comments. Mukesh, your final comments.
Any market you are in, it is the product, quality, pricing, and delivery, and the most important, service. No matter which market you are, you deliver everything and think big, you can make it happen. Thank you.
Think big, you can make it happen. Thank you so much for those comments.
So I'm going to pick up just off what he said. I think today we really need to focus on services, and the theme for this summit, digital transformation. We need to focus on digital services to offer our customers whatever product you are selling today. You have to add service to it. People will buy your product if they can connect with your brand, if they can believe in your brand, and if they can trust your brand. And to do all of these things, you have to provide the services that your customers are looking for.
Thank you. Wonderful comments there.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. So I will say that for us to transform our business, let's focus on the greatest assets that we have. And our greatest asset are people. Gone are the days when we manage our people with human resource management department. Today, it is talent management. The biggest brand that you can talk of, the Apple and the rest, they manage talents. You identify the talents, you give them the resources, and they will transform your process for you. Let's not talk about how much they want to be paid, how much will get them to be happy. No. We've gone past the age of survivor to the days where the young ones are ambitious. And we should manage them as talents, not as people who are ready to work.
Fun thoughts there. Helene, your final comments?
Thank you. Yes, I believe for any business, any size, the way for growth is a combination of curiosity and courage. And with courage, I mean you must be able and willing to let people make mistakes. If we don't make mistakes, we don't learn. And that is what we need our courage for. Our curiosity is there to expand, to try and invent and try out new products, new innovations, new processes. It's with that dynamic mindset that we will be able to counteract the punches that we've seen around and that we all feel in our businesses. And then one last point that's very close to my heart. There's a very diverse workforce out there. A bit more diverse than I see here on stage. I'm really proud to say we were struggling to get women from technical universities into our brewery. And we need, in our supply, we have strong targets for increasing the diversity, gender diversity in our business. But by setting up a training program with young women from STEM universities, we had about 90 of them going through a 6-month course, and we've now hired 34 of those into our business. So it is possible, and not all women are only interested in mascara.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being a wonderful audience. Let's put ours together for ourselves as well. If we want our businesses to grow and want to radically transform them to become African multinationals, then no, we cannot get tired. No, we cannot stop. We only have to keep moving ahead, for in moving ahead, we become the best versions of ourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you.
How about a group photograph together, all the panelists and the moderator? Let's see you up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for them. And so right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm standing between you and a lot of food. Lunch is served for those of you who have received your cheats. Those who received white, yours is the Chef George up the flight of stairs. And those with the other colors, you'll be ushered upstairs. When we come back at exactly 2:45, ladies and gentlemen, we will go into the next panel discussion on economy and ease of doing business. You don't want to miss that for all the rice in China or even the we in Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a very spirited panel which will comprise the CEO of the GIPC, the country representative of the IMF. We're going to have the financial advisory partner of Deloitte, amongst many other rich, resourceful panelists. So right now, all I can say is bon appetit, enjoy your meal, and let's all return at exactly 2:45 to continue the business of the day. Thank you very much, panelists.
One
All
of the
CEOs
first
who have not
signs of
received
human
coupons,
civilization
please be seated.
Was to sow, germinate, tender, harvest, repeat, generation
Mr. Operator,
after
please
generation.
bring it down a bit. Please bring it down a bit.
Agriculture is culture.
Ladies and gentlemen, for all CEOs who have not received coupons, please be seated. We will come by your table and give you your coupons. Thank you very much.
In business requires certain